All right, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Salutations to the occupant out there, spreading this truth like wildfire in all truth and in all sincerity. Shalom to Shalom to the rest of the elect, the hopeful 1/3 out there, the who can't men who can't come out here and prophesy on highways and byways because the disability prevents them, but really it's because it wasn't their lot. And Shalom, as well as to the women and children who believe, whether they look like people on this 12 tribe chart, which is so-called black people, Latinos and Native Americans, 12 tribes of Israel, or they look like the other nations, but really they go back to the people on the 12 tribe chart. Shalom to y'all, man. Shalom to all the house of David, all the Bayat Dawudah, man. That just mean house of David in Hebrew. All right. Came out here to warn the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which is the so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, and as well as Israelite foreigners that be like unto the speckled bird. Warn them of the times that's coming, and that hey, y'all need to repent, man. We pretty much at the end of this so-called white man's rulership, man. We're pretty much at the end of it. You can see, uh, you could tell by what's going on in the news. It's signs that this so-called white man's rulership, which so-called white man, he's Esau according to the scriptures. There's no such thing as white people. There really isn't. As you could easily tell if you look at a so-called white man wearing a white shirt. His face, his skin color, and his fucking shirt are not gonna fucking match. Because he's not white. He's really red. He's pink. He's pink, which is a shade of red. The shade of red. So, and Edom means red in the Hebrew. Now I can get let me get Genesis. Genesis 25, starting off at, let me just get Genesis 25. Right here. This is who your top adversary is, man. The Edomites have always had this type of hatred towards you, which is why they got you at the bottom of that, which is why they they stay plotting against our people, why they want you to take that juicy juice. Hey, for the sake of the YouTube, of the algorithm on the tube, I gotta I gotta basically speak in code, man, to get past it. But you know what I mean? They're trying to stick it in your arm. That's why they're trying to do that. It's not for your own safety. You just doesn't even take that much research to find that that juice that they trying to stick in you. They trying to hit you with. They trying to give you the juice. They trying to give you so bad it's actually poison. It actually causes It's actually causing people to drop dead around the world. So this devil, he's not your friend, and the so-called white man, he's actually he's red. And let me I'm about to read about him in Genesis chapter 25. Genesis, I'm gonna start at verse 22. And the children struggled. I'm gonna start at 21. You know what? And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife. Yahweh is the true name of the father. When it says Lord in all caps in the Bible, that's in the Hebrew manuscript, his name would be there. And his name in the original Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh. There is no U's, and there is no E's, and there is no O's in the original Hebrew. His name would be Yahweh, meaning he is. But anyways, let me continue. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Verse 22, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So she went to inquire of Yahweh. So already in the womb, they're already thrown down in the womb, man. And she wanted to know why. Verse 23, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. 2 nations were in her wombs, 2 manner of people, 2 types of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people. Jacob, man. Jacob, Jacob's stronger than Esau, so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, as well as the speckled birds, stronger than, what the fuck? Bringing out the scriptures.
Get away from there. Go. Go over there. Go.
I'm bringing out the scriptures, and I could stand here. I don't know what it is.
That phone. You're reading that phone. I'm right there, and you're reading the phone. I don't know about phone. I don't have it without it. But I'm not gonna let people just be going and sitting right there.
Are you asking me?
All that.
Are you asking me to? Because all I'm doing is bringing out the scriptures. Are you asking me to move? I'll move since you're trying to sleep. You ain't trying to hear it. I'm still gonna be in this area, just right here. That should be enough. All right, let me continue. Salakia for that. It's kind of late out here, and got homeless people out here, and they're just trying to sleep. All right, let me continue. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And that's obvious. So-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, even Israelite foreigners, they're stronger in every type of way, and than the Esau, the so-called white man. Verse 24, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Verse 25, and the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she buried him. So the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. So, that's obvious, he's red, came out red, and it's obvious. White, when a so-called white boy or girl comes out of the, was born and shit, they're all red and shit, all over. That's obvious. Verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. Verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And it's, hey, it's obvious, who are what is the nation of people or a race of people that is so good at hunting, and they fucking love hunting. They love hunting so much they hunt for the hell of it. You got trophy hunters, man. And what race of people are they made out of? They're mainly so-called white people. These are the facts. And a man of the field, is always going somewhere, doing some shit, usually in the outdoors. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents, versus Jacob, mainly, he likes to chill, man. Likes to stay in the crib, man, for the most part. Doesn't like to do too much when it comes to that. And hold on. Plain man, get let me get that in let me get that one scripture in the Hebrew lexicon, just cause I want to touch on something real quick, and then all right, yeah, it's right here. Get something in Hebrew lexicon that show you what's really meant there, but basically, you get the point. Goes basically goes into being peaceful, because Esau was a cunning hunter, and hey, that's 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 the character of that's how Jacob and his descendants are. Hey, Jerusalem mean the city of peace. Should tell you right there that the people of Jerusalem, because it's a people, it's Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. Would be peace loving people. Like they trying to, all they do is trying to, like, you get the point. You get the point. You get the point. The people over there, all they doing is stirring up shit. But yeah, it says time on, which means to be completed or finished. Be completed or finished. Blameless. There you go. Also that. blameless, completed, finished, goes into that as well. So that's what's meant there. Don't mean we ain't got no personality like we're playing like that. Just in case someone would get that confused. But let me get back to what I was getting into. Verse 28, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. Because he did eat of his venison. And come on, that should make it even more clear who Esau is today. You know, he would have the same type of character. But Rebekah loved Jacob. Verse 29, and Jacob saw a pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. You know, and also, hey, Rebekah loved Jacob. You know, they like to say, and the brothers have brought this out before, but it's I'm gonna bring it out again. They like to say that they like to call so-called black people, Latino, and Native American men like to say that, and speckled bird men like to say we're mama's boys and shit. You know, it's what it goes back to. You know, really it goes back to that. You know, hey, really it goes back to that. Verse 29, and Jacob sawed pottage. Hey, and also it's shown by, you know, the close relationship, for example, the so-called Latino man has with his mom, you know. But anyways, verse 29, and Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Verse 30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, because he also, not only was he red, but he was also, he was also eating that red pot. He wanted some of that red pottage, which, by the way, was not done yet. You know, by the way, was not done yet. You know, and these so-called white people who are Edomites, they love that rare meat, man. They love that rare meat. They don't like it well done. You know, I get precepts showing that in Hebrews 12 and 16. Hebrews 12 and 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, profane meaning outside the temple, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. It's described as red pottage. You know, sold his birthright for that. Get into it. Got any questions about the sign, just let me know. Verse 31, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Verse 32, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall his birthright do to me? He was hungry as fuck, basically. So he was ready to give it up, his whole birthright, just for a pot, just for some pottage with lentils and raw meat, bro, or barely cooked meat. You know, that's what this devil did, man. You know, devil simply mean false accuser. By the way, it doesn't mean some dude under the earth with fucking red, or all that's fucking red like a stop sign, and got horns and a tail and a pitchfork. Nah, that's Greek mythology, bro. That come from Hades. Devil just means deceiver, false accuser. A devious person is a deceiver. They have the same root. Devil and devious. That's how you can tell. Verse 33, and Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swear unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. He said, swear to me that. So he did it. Transaction completed. And this is where the beef between Jacob and Esau, but between the self-proclaimed so-called white man and the 1948ers occupying our land, and the people in the 12 tribe chart, so-called black people, Latinos, and natives, and those who look like the other nations but go back to them. And their spirit bears witness of that. And so, does the fact that they go through the curses as well. They're all the salt of the earth as well. They got flavor, they got sazon, they got personality. They got talent. Verse 34, then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. That's where that beef between Jacob and Esau, that's where it starts off. This is where it picks up and also shows you, why the Edomites run the world and not the Israelites. Shows you how they run the world right now, and they've been running the world. But that's coming soon to a wrap. But about to show you how they do, though. Also, what they're also called according to the scriptures. And let me get into Genesis chapter 27. This is where that beef picks up. This is why these so-called white people that go back to Esau. This is why you hate so-called black people, Latinos, and natives so much, and even the speckled birds, man. Something different about them. This is why. Right here, this is hey, you so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, and you speckled birds. This is why they hate us. This is why. Genesis 27:1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here am I. Verse 2, and he said, behold, now I am old, and know not the day of my death. Verse 3, now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. Verse 4, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. Verse 5, and Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. Verse 6, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying. Verse 7, bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before Yahweh before my death. Verse 8, now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee. Verse 9, go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 gill kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. Basically, she was gonna, season it, taste just like venison and shit. How people get down with them seasonings too, man. So, it also shows, who the Israelites are today. Proof is there. Verse 10, and he shall bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. Verse 11, and Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, the, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Also showing you that Esau, he's the so-called white man. And Jacob, man, come on. That makes it obvious. Verse 12, my father peradventure will fill me. Hey, so-called black people, tribe of Judah, mostly, majority of tribe of Judah. Very much more smooth skin than Edomites, man. Yeah, I'm over here instead. I know you don't want to hear it. I'm not reading to you. Verse 15, and Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. You're demanding that. You're not asking me. Verse 16, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands. I know you are. You're demanding that of me. You're not asking me. And she gave the savory meat and the bread. I'm good.
You sure?
I'm good, fam. I don't smoke. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. Verse 18, and he came unto his father and said, My father, and said, Here am I, who art thou, my son? Verse 19, and Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that my soul may bless me. Verse 20, and Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh thy power had brought it to me. Verse 21, and Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Verse 24, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau, because these so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, even Israelites that be like unto the speckled bird, looking like the other nations, including Edomites, looking like Edomites as well. They got much deeper voices than actual Edomites. So that's also shows you who as well. It's another hint. Verse 25, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. But keep in mind that got them goat skins on his hands. So he blessed him. Verse 24, and he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. Verse 25, and he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Verse 26, and his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. Verse 27, and he came near, and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field, which Yahweh hath blessed. Verse 28, Therefore power give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Verse 29, Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blessed thee. And ultimately, this is coming in the kingdom. Right now, one of the curses, because later on down the line, we broke a deal with the Most High, Yahweh. And the consequences was that we was going to be under the curses at the bottom. In the hoods, ghettos, barrios, projects, reservations. Verse 30, and it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Verse 31. Verse 31, and he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. Verse 32, and Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. Verse 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that had taken venison, and brought it me, and I have eaten it of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. Verse 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. Verse 35, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and had taken away thy blessing. Verse 36, and he said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. There Esau's lying there, though, because he sold his birthright. There was a transaction he could have endured and not sold his birthright. That's these devils for you, though. That's them for you. And behold, now he had taken away my blessing. And he said, and really, let's look at this, because the blessing belonged to the firstborn, the one who had the birthright, and he sold his birthright. So technically, it's like buying a car, and then the blessing is just the title. So, he had already taken that L. He had already took that L even before then by selling his birthright, which it was all set up, for it to be that way, But, this is how it played out. Verse 37, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? Verse 38, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And that's where, that scripture in Hebrews, the next one, verse 17, so what this goes into. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Though he sought it carefully with tears. Telling you why. Telling you why. Why these so-called white people got beef with our people. Not asking me. And I'm not going to be here for that long. Verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live, thou shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Verse 41, and Esau, which this happened starting during the times when we was back in the land. Esau Esau rebelled back then. Since then they've been pretty much doing their own thing, and now they're over us. Verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the day The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So that's where that beef arises from. That's why they hate us. And by that sword thou shalt live. You know, that's how these devils, these self-proclaimed so-called white people. Not saying all so-called white people are Edomites, by the way. The ones that are. This is how they have the fatness of the earth. It's basically the resource, the areas of the earth with the most resources, they have control over them. Europe, Americas, the Americas, other, around the world. They control these areas with the most resources. You know, that's how they took it. By the sword, by any weapon, though. Now, who is that? Deception. They use that as a weapon. And so, to this day, these devils, man, they held that grudge. They kept that hatred. Ezekiel Ezekiel 35, get that, verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. See, they had a perpetual hatred. They've been had a perpetual hatred. They didn't let go of that. That's why they do what they do, and that's why they're planning and also try to get the birthright back. That's actually the whole point of the New World Order. That's actually the whole purpose for it. Is to actually take the birthright by force. That's what these devils they're trying to do. And them, they hold on. And them along with these other nations, they're trying to take us out of the picture because they don't want us to come back to power again. Because once we come back to power again, it's a wrap for them. Which is why they have that crafty counsel against us. Going into Psalms 83. Start at verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O power, Yahweh. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O power, Yahweh. Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. The Israelites call the hidden ones, man, because our identity, right, our identity is hidden. We're hidden prison houses. The majority of the prison population in the U.S., for example, which has the largest prison population, by the way, the majority of it is the people on the 12 tribe chart. so-called black people, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners that look like the other nations, because our people was scattered to the four corners of the earth, so they intermixed with the other nations. Verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The name of Israel, really, Yashral in the Hebrew, that our name, and, really also they're trying to exterminate us, So that's why they want, again, like I mentioned before, that's why, That's why they want our people to take, that juice. That's why they want our people to take that. It's really poison. It's slow acting, faster acting for others. It just depends on how much you get. And but you don't know. They don't tell you. So you're gambling by getting the juice. That's why they want you to get the juice. And that's why, and also the FEMA camps, Rex 84 was originally applied to so-called black people and Latinos. First so-called black people in the event of a race war, which, look what they're trying to do. Look at the what's going on, every time, well, not every time, but a lot of police killings of so-called black people, and then also Latinos have, basically come out on the news, and it's caused our people to get pissed off and get fed up, and so that goes into that, and also, right, that goes back to really the King Alfred plan back in the 60s, that was put together by LBJ, the president that so-called cared about us, right? Put together by him. And then you had Ronald Reagan with that Rex 84, executive order, executive decree that basically added so-called Mexicans, which are of the tribe of Issachar, meaning the word means he is hired. That's why y'all do a lot of the hard work in this country, really, also around the world, and down there in Mexico. But, also another reason for basically activating those FEMA camps was an immigration crisis. And what do you have going on right now? You have an immigration crisis, which is, they're engineering that shit. They put hell on our people overseas. They put hell on our people, down there in Latin America, down there in Haiti, in West Indies. They put hell on them so that they got even West Africa, got some of our people still left there. That was where the so-called black people, the so-called black Americans, the West Indians and the Haitians, a lot of them, but not all of them, but not all of them, but a lot of them was taken from there. So you have some descendants there left. So they make those areas, they turn those areas into shitholes, like Trump called it. Well, they're the reasons why they are. These devils are the reasons why they're like that. And then our people, come to Babylon, which is America. They come to America, they migrate here thinking they're going to find a better life here. But, lo and behold, it's like same old bullshit. But that's why you have an immigration crisis and shit. This time around, they coming over here because, hey, Joe Biden, the president, he was acting like, oh, I'm gonna be I'm not going to deport. I'm not going to deport so-called Latinos because I'm not going to deport these immigrants. I'm not going to deport them. I'm not going to like send them back just because they came here without papers. That's why you have a lot of them coming over here now. But including recently you had so-called Haitians. You had so-called Haitians come across the border from Mexico. But you have to wonder how they got from Haiti to Mexico. It's another story, man. But yeah, man, they was deported. They was deported after Biden. He said what he said. Also, during the Trump administration, really this came out. This came out during the Trump administration, but it's been happening. You had them during the Obama administration. You had them during the Bush administration. Really, going back to Clinton, had them going back to there. These internment camps for so-called, what Esau likes to call illegal immigrants. That goes into that as well. They're trying to get rid of our people, man. And they've also cut us off from being a nation by dividing us into different so-called minorities under these different bywords and proverbs that we're being called, which is all according to the curses. It was prophesied that we would be getting called proverbs and bywords. Really, it's racial slurs when you go into it, and false identities. Like black, for example. Nobody has that skin color. Nobody has that skin color. Yet, you have a bunch of people, which really they're the tribe of Judah, mainly, calling themselves black and being called black because they were told that that was their identity. Or African American, not our true identity. Hey, the land of Africa. The reason why it has that name is, you look into it. There's a Roman general by the name of Leo Scipio Africanus. After he conquered that area, it was a Roman province. It's called Africa. If you look into it, the Americas, of course, should know that. Amerigo Vespucci, another Edomite, another self-proclaimed so-called white man. So it's the names of two so-called white men. They're not the true identity of the people being called that. Then you have Latino. That's comes from that's a language. Come from really, you want to dig into it. It come from the Latinos, which was an ethnic group, which really they were Jews. They were real Jews, though, Judites, so-called black people. That was back there in Spain, and that Latino was what they was called because that was the language. That was it was a dialect of Spanish that they were speaking. So it comes from there. It's not a true identity. Native American, not a true identity because the Native Americans, where were they at before the Americas? They was in the land of Israel. They was in the land of the Assyrians. They was taken to the land of the Assyrians by the Assyrians. They was in the land of Israel before. Tribe of Gad, the true identity of the Native Americans. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. That's in Genesis chapter 49. Who was that troop that overcame the tribe of Gad? It was the U.S. Cavalry and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. But the curses The curse is one of these curses. These curses, they tell you why, our people isn't, they tell us, rather, they tell us why our people is in this low position in society and constantly being oppressed and not being able to rise above it, no matter what we do. This is the only way out, is to repent. And the only one who can deliver us is Yahweh Shai, who's not coming back as a man. He's the one the world arrogantly called Jesus Christ. That's not his true name. No J's in the Hebrew. J is the earliest, the J is the newest letter, I would say. I actually was trying to say. The J is the newest letter in the alphabet. And that, so it was I Jesus, which is Greek. It's a Greek title, and so is Christ. Yahweh Shai he was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. And he did have his heritage. He was from the house of David too, and he had his heritage. And he spoke the language and all that. Followed the laws, statutes, and commandments and all that. So did his parents. So he had to have had a Hebrew name, a paleo or Hebrew name at that, real Hebrew name. Yahweh Shai, he saves, he delivers. That's what it means. But let me get Deuteronomy 28, verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee. There you go, man. Being called these proverbs and bywords, man. These false names. These false names, proverbs, will also go into stereotypes that are misunderstood. Like that song by Biggie, right? Stereotypes of a black man misunderstood will replace black with Hebrew Israelite. But that was how they have been trying to erase, they have erased our identity from our heads. And that is why, from people's heads. And that's how they have divided us into a bunch of ethnic groups, a bunch of minorities, when we're the majority. Israel's as the sand of the sea. When you put all those minorities together, we're the majority. And that's not to mention, those Israelite foreigners, the speckled birds, man. And that's not to mention them, man. Divided up into a bunch of minorities. But hold on. As the sand of the sea. As the sand of the sea, KJV. Tell you about it. Yeah. For though Isaiah 10 and 22, for though thy people Israel may be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. The remnant, the elect. Our people are as the sand of the sea, fruitful. But let me get back to that chapter that I was getting into. I'm continue bringing it out. There you go. Verse 4. Okay, verse, which means that's right in the Hebrew. Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. In other words, they're conspiring against us. They have been conspiring against us. This will be called a conspiracy theory in the world. They're calling it a theory, trying to say it's not true. Verse 6, the tabernacles of Edom, the so-called white man, also includes the 1948ers as well. They're really the chief house, the tribal Amalek. That's who they would be. And the Ishmaelites of Moab, over here, they're mentioned separately because they're like a whole different people from the so-called white people, even though they are so-called white people. But the Ishmaelites, those are the Arabs. You know, they have also taken part. They took part in the enslavement of you so-called black people. You had the trans-Saharan slave trade, man. You had the trans-Oriental slave trade. They're the ones that build the ships for Esau. These Ishmaelites, man. Your friendly neighborhood 7-Eleven owner. Those were the ones that did that. They do that. They do that, and then they come here and they make money off of our people being in captivity, and they sell our people junk food and shit, and cigarettes and shit, and malt liquor, all that shit. Just they sell our people that shit, making money, licking the wounds. There's a parable that goes into that. Parable of Lazarus. Lazarus is the Israelites. Esau is the rich man. Namely the elites, the 13 Illuminati families. Headed by the Rothschilds. But yeah, the Ishmaelites, so-called Arabs, they've also played a role in our captivity, in our oppression. And a lot of y'all so-called black people, y'all go in, y'all be Muslims. That's Ishmael shit. And the same way that so-called black people got converted to Christianity, which is loosely based off of the Bible, but not all the way. It's mixed with paganism. The same way so-called black people got converted to Islam, back in West Africa and shit. The same way. Slavery. Okay? So the Ishmaelites definitely played a role in our people's downfall, our captivity, and continue to do so. Free Northern Kingdom as well, man. Setting up shop in them so-called Latino countries, doing the same thing they do up in the hood over here. Of Moab, the so-called Chinese, they're the Moabites. Explains their appearance. These are just facts, man. Down syndrome, what's called Down syndrome now, used to be called back in the day, used to be called Mongolian idiocy, and there's a reason for that, because it would make your face look a certain way. And one way it would be caused, not always, I'm not saying every time it's caused by that, but one way it would be caused was through incest. And if you look at the story of Moab and Ammon, Lot and his daughters, man, his daughters got Lot drunk. You know what happened next, man? In order to bear seed, but that's going off, man. Which is why they, produced basically it made them look the way they are, act the way they are, all that, That's why they have that look. Moab, and Ammon would be the so-called Japanese. And the so-called Chinese, they set up shop. They set up these restaurants in the hood, these buffet these buffets in the hood, man, selling all types of unclean foods to our peoples and shit. All types for cheap, because they know our people is broke or damn near broke for the good majority. And they know this, and they make big bank off of our people, and our people barely benefit, if any. Most of that goes back to their people, to their relatives back in China, back in, for the Ammonites, back in so-called Japanese, back in Japan. It goes back to them. Hey, for the Ishmaelites, it go back to their relatives back in Ishmael land, where they're from, So that's they're more heathens licking the wounds and conspiring to keep our people down. Gabal. Okay, and the Hagarenes, ancient Egyptians, not the ones in the land of Egypt today. Those are mainly Ishmaelites and Edomites from the Greek captivity, because the so-called Greeks, the people who ruled the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great, Alexander the Freak, well, brothers call him, and continuing, the kings that came after were so-called white people, were Edomites. They were really, they're Amalekites, man. They were the same tribe of people as as Haman. Haman, he was a Agagite. Agag was a king of the Amalekites. Amalek was a grandson of Esau. And Haman is also called a Macedonian. He's also called a Macedonian. Guess who else was a Macedonian? Philip of Macedon and his son Alexander. Yep. Additions to Esther tells you that. He was an Edomite. That was when they took power. Additions to Esther. That's the book that's in the Apocrypha that was in the original KJV. They took it out the Bible because they didn't want. It's too much info. They didn't want you to know. Additions to Esther 16:10. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and our good far distance from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So Ammon, a Macedonian. Ammon, another way of saying Ammon. They were Edomites, and they took over Egypt. The ancient Greeks under Alexander took over Egypt, as well as the rest of the Persian Empire. And what they did is they basically try to claim they they was the Egyptians. You had the Ptolemies. They put on, the Egyptian pharaoh garb and all that shit, and they claimed they was the Egyptians. That's where you get all the false images. That's where you get all the false images of the Egyptians, showing them as so-called white people and artifacts, man. You really get them from the Ptolemaic period. You really get it from there. And that's actually one of the things that these so-called white people do, man. These Edomites do. And let me get an example of that. It's called iconoclasm as well. Or whitewashing. 1 Maccabees 3:48, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Because they tried to claim they was the Israelites too, man. They tried to claim they was Israelites. And then they did the same shit during the Renaissance period. By all the images of the people, of the so-called black people, the true Jews that was ruling Europe, like King James, for example, of the King James Bible, like him. He was a so-called black man. He was a Jew, a real one. They show you that so-called white image. Okay, so that's an example of that, along with many others, along with the false image of the Lord. Right here, that's Cesare Borgia. That image is based off of Cesare Borgia. That's not how he really looks like. We got woolly hair. Come on, woolly hair like wool. hair like wool, you know, his feet like burnished brass, so very dark. You know, and if his feet are burnished brass, then guess what the rest of his body would look like? And guess what is would look very dark. The skin color would be very dark, like the so-called black man, actually. But that is the fact that they hid that from our people is a part of that conspiracy. You know, it's the best kept secret, the best kept secret. You know that these Edomites and these heathens kept from our people and spent so much to keep from our people. You know, it's that who the true Israelites are. And now it's being exposed. It's been getting exposed for about 50 years now. Since you had a man by the name of Abba Bivens go out there on the streets of Chicago like this and bring it out back in the late 60s, early 70s. That's where it all began. Revelation Revelation 1 and 13. Gonna start off right there. And in the midst of 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed down to the with the garment down to the clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paths with a golden girdle. One like unto the Son of Man, keep this in mind. He had to look like the Son of Man, who is Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Now, no one is walking around here having, you know, flesh that's actually white, you know, like that car that just passed. So you have to think. His head, referring to the head of the hairs he had on his head, a full head of hair. You have to think. And hairs, his beard. Fuck. No, my phone didn't die. Shit just blacked out on me. Phone tripping. His head and his hairs, meaning head of hair, and his hairs, his beard, white like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. You know, and you would think, that's symbolic, man. Nobody's eyes is like a flame of fire. But you go back to Genesis, I just get it. Genesis 49, KJV. What's up? Genesis 49. You go to the part about Judah, and you go to the part, this is talking about the Lord right here. Verse 10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. Really talking about Judah just like leading the tribes. You can see that trend-wise, and so-called black people that start all the trends, and the rest of the tribes catch on. All right, so that's that. Until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt. Fuck, man, my fucking screen keeps blacking out. That's just Satan, though, Henry. Unto the choice vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine and his grapes in the blood, clothes in the blood of grapes. Verse 12, there's the point. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. White with milk. So, eyes red with wine. You know bloodshot eyes, right? Come on. Verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Straight up, right there. So his feet would have to be very dark in color. Fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace, or burnished brass is dark brown. These are facts. And so-called black people are dark brown skinned. And his voice is the sound of many waters. Deep ass voice. So it's all there, man. It's all there. But yeah, hey, they hid that for more people. It's other verses. Daniel 10 and 5. Daniel 10 and 5 tells you. Also that. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain, just continue, certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body was also like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, shining. And his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms his feet like in color to polished brass. When you look into the Hebrew, burnished, means the same thing. And the voice of his words, you just look into the Strong's Hebrew lexicon, burnished. And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude, also implying very, very deep, also very loud voice. Fuck. Hold on. Screen went out on me. It's tripping. Phone is tripping, man. Of course. Fleet open. At that. Wait, that's Satan, man. Get in the way. Henry. Gotta see if it's still up there. Should be. Khan. Hey, all praises to Yahweh Shemi outside. Call out Yahweh Shemi outside. Still up. But let me get back to what I was getting into. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So getting back to shit. Getting back to the scriptures that I was getting into. The Hagarenes would be the ancient Egyptians, which they were descendants of Ham. So they were dark skinned people, and today they're so-called Africans. Because so-called black people and so-called Africans are not the same people. Just because you have the same skin complexion, the same type of hair, look similar, don't mean that it's the same race of people. Just because, look at the Chinese and the Japanese, for example. Gabal, that's more Hamites. I believe that's in the same region. And the Ammon, those are the so-called Japanese, and them Hamites, they're the ones that sold so-called black people to the so-called white man, to the so-called Arab as well. So they played the role. They'll set up nail salons in different hoods and shit. Do the same, just like so-called Chinese will set up will do that as well. Set up hair salons and shit, exploit our people, make money off of them, and send it back to theirs. And they treat our people like shit. They treat our people like shit. That's there's actually videos of them doing that shit. The feel. All right, and going on though, in Amalek, that's those are the 1948ers, the people claiming to be the people of the Lord. STEM, the people who rule the world. They're actually the head tribe. They're the head tribe of the Edomites, and none of the curses apply to them. None of the curses apply to them. They don't match description, and they stay doing wickedness in our land. Tel Aviv is known as what? Pink City. You have a oral circumcision. It's real. You have kosher pig. Those are not. Plus, you got the elites. A lot of families belong to them, and they're still prospering. Which should tell you something. The Israelites are the children of the Lord, the children of Yahweh. They're they go off. Our people, like, come on. So the Most High Yahweh is our Father. So if we go off, so if you go off, if your kid goes off, your kid goes off, what are you gonna do? You're gonna, if you love him, you're gonna put the whooping to that ass, man. You're gonna, just so he don't go off again. That's what these curses are, man. It's the Most High chastening our people. But these so-called Jews, they're just out there doing whatever the fuck they want, man. They're out there committing all types of atrocities and shit. And you know why? Why they're doing that and they're still on top? Because because they're bastards and not sons. Let me get scripture that go into that. And ye are bastards and not sons. Then ye are bastards and not sons. And not sons. Hebrews 12 and hold on. Verse 7. If ye endure chastening, how Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Verse 8. But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. You're not going to discipline someone else's child. And then you get a prophecy that, bastards will actually live in the land. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. And that's Zechariah 9 and 6. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. That's over there in the land of Israel. Who's dwelling in the land of over there, in Ashdod specifically? Who's dwelling there? There you go. There's your answer. And so, those ain't the people of the Lord. They're actually, they're imposters, and they're claiming our heritage, as prophesied as well. That was prophesied to happen. Gotta hurry up. Get to the point. Ah, shit. Ah, shit. Ezekiel 30, 36 and 2. Thus saith the Lord power Yahweh, because the enemy has said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Verse 3, therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord power Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. And ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are infamy of the people. Verse 4, the curses. Verse 4, therefore ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Verse 5, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed, which is Edom in Greek. That's all it is. Which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their hearts, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. That's what they have done, man. They're like, yeah, we even got the land of Israel in our possession. Hey, we the people. We the people of the Lord. Ah, fuck. Let me get back to what I was getting back into. So I wanted to address who the children of Amalek were, because really that's who they are. They're at the head. They're at the head of all the conspiracies against our people. They're at the head of all that shit. They're at the head of the New World Order. They're at the head of that. They're at the head of they're basically at the head of all of it. They run the house of Esau, man. They control it. And the other Edomites, even the other Edomites despise him. But let me get back to what I was getting on. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, that's more Hamites. That's more actual indigenous Africans, the people that sold the so-called black people to the so-called white men. Verse 8, Ashur also is joined with them. So over there in Iraq. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah, children of Lot, so-called East Asians, Moab and Ammon. So those are the nations that have been conspiring to keep our people down. And it's headed off by who? None other than the so-called white man. I don't know anything about the sign. Just let me know. None other than him. This New World Order is actually about taking that birthright back for him, and it's about, for the heathens, it's about keeping our people. So it's about really eliminating our people, man, so that our people will never take back. Our people will never rise back to power, man. They don't want our people to rise back to power, because again, it would be a wrap. That's why. And now our people are waking up. Now our people are waking up. You got the elect waking up. All it's needed is 1/3. You got the elect waking up to the truth around the world. not just here in America. You know, both looking like the people in the 12 tribes chart, so-called Black, Latino, and Native, and looking like the other nations as well. Those are people scattered, and that has these heathens real shook. You know, they're scared. Revelation, and Esau, you know, he's scared. He's scared. That's why he's moving so fast. He has a short time. You know, let me get that dry bone, or let me just get Revelation 11. Well, let me get that. All right, let me get that dry bones. I'm gonna get that. Let me get that because it links right up. I'll just show how it links right up. Revelation. I'll get that next. Let me get Ezekiel 37, where it talk about that specifically. Are people waking the fuck up? Oh fuck. Oh shit. Yeah, I would have to start from the beginning. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1. The hand of Yahweh was upon me, and it carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. Verse 2, and caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Verse 3, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord Yahweh, thou knowest. This is God in all caps. Verse 4, again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh, which is what we're doing right now. Verse 5, thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. Verse 6, and I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. And it's symbolic for waking up. You know, different stages of it. First, waking up to their oppression, and waking up to, hey, we're being oppressed by the same people in the same way. You know, Northern Kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Natives, and the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Black people. You know, waking up to that, and then, you know, later on, the speckled birds, some of them. And that's been going on. And put breath in you. Okay, yeah, and cover you with skin, you know, describing different stages, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Verse 7, so I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was a noise, and behold a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Verse 8, and when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. You know, they didn't have that spirit of truth, which is what the breath represents. They didn't have that. They didn't have the complete knowledge, the names and all that. You know, they just had some knowledge. Verse 9, and he said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. You know? Ah, shit. Breathe upon these slain, that they may live. You know, it's some of these, so like this is a symbolic of the house of Israel waking up. And I'm gonna continue. Verse 10, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. That's why they're shook. Though just the elect, an exceeding great army. Ah, fuck. Ah, fuck. Verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off from our parts. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, O my people, I'll open your graves and cause you to come out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Verse 13, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. And what's, that valley of dry bones, it's also the valley of the shadow of death. That's also, it's really America. That's really America, specifically the hood. Verse 14, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then ye shall know that Yahweh had spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. Then I'm just gonna get these few more scriptures, then gonna bring out the scriptures in Revelation 11. Show how I'll link right up. Verse 14, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live. Okay, just read that. Verse 15, and the word of Yahweh again came again unto me, saying, verse 16, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions, and take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. Verse 17, and join them to one to another, join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. Basically, because the house of Judah, the house of Ephraim, the northern and southern kingdoms, they split back after King Solomon died. When you had King Rehoboam, when King Rehoboam, he did they after King Solomon, there was basically King Solomon had imposed a lot of taxes on the people, and they was and those 10 tribes, it was mainly them, they was not having it, and then but at the same time, it was the kingdom was prospering, and you had King Rehoboam come up on there. Come up, like basically take the throne. That's what I'm trying to say. And he told, and he and the people asked him, like, are you gonna tax our people? Basically, are you gonna tax? Basically, I'm paraphrasing it. Are you gonna tax our people like Solomon did? Are you gonna like basically let up? Not gonna do as much. And what happened is he's basically, he took counsel with the old men, which was Solomon. They grew up with Solomon, his father. Then they took counsel. He took counsel with the young men that grew up with him. Old man said, "Hey, nah, ease up on them. Just speak to them nicely, and they'll take heed to you. No, they'll like submit. They won't buck up." And the young man said, "Nah, man, tell them what's up. Let them know. Hey, actually tell them this. Tell them that, you're actually going to be harder on them. Chastise you with scorpions. With scorpions." Goes back to that. Whereas 1 Kings 12 and 11. Whereas my father burdened you with the heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So, since then on, the house of Israel, which is really speaking of those 10 tribes, as it developed, it was those 10 tribes that rebelled from the house of David and the house of Judah. That beef has continued to this day. That's why there's beef between so-called black people and so-called Latinos and natives. That's why there's been that friction. You have a good example of that here in San Antonio, Texas. You have the east side versus the west side. beef. And if you look at the beef, it's like a beef between two brothers. But all that's coming to an end. He had the black black pride, black love, brown pride movement that started off in L.A. Hey, Tupac rapped about it, man. Showing you. Hey, he knew the truth, man. And around that time, it was the start of that. How it goes, black love, brown pride, in a sense again. Wouldn't be LA without Mexicans. That's what it was about. The stick of Judah and the stick of Ephraim coming together. Verse 17, and join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. That's exactly what's been going on. The truth is, helped that even more, because been bringing out that so-called black people, these so-called Latinos and natives, y'all are the same people. Y'all are brothers and sisters by blood. Why you go through the same curses, have flavor, basically move the same way. Come on. Just few variations, but pretty much the same. Get the point. And okay. Shit.
What's your elbow?
Let me get and so let me get shit. Fuck. Okay, let me get Revelation 11 and 11. Because what's being spoken of in Revelation chapter 11 is basically the same thing, but it's being put in a different way. Revelation 11 and 11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from power Yahweh entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Those two witnesses representing the two kingdoms of Israel. The spirit of life, really the remnant on this side. Spirit of life from power Yahweh entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Because they knew that it was a wrap, man. They knew it was a wrap. Verse 12, and they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And that's what's going to happen after the elect get sealed. Continue reading. Verse 13, and in the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the power of Yahweh of heaven, which 7,000 just means a complete amount. 7 means completion. The 10th part of the city, that great city Babylon, that's America. Verse 14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. This is really why they're shook right here, because once the elect wakes up, it's a chain of events that's going to happen. Once they wake up all the way, you think it's bad right now, you think it's shit popping off right now, which is not even that bad, which is why people are chilling. That shit is really going to get ramped up when the elect is sealed. And also, you ain't going to have no more access to this word, because the elect is already going to be sealed. No more need to be fishers of men. Revelation 11:15, and the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Mashiach, which really should say that, but the NT translated to several languages. Greek, and then the English. That's why it say Christ. But Mashiach means anointed, and Christ means anointed. It really should say Mashiach. And he shall reign, that's in the Hebrew. Mashiach is the Hebrew. And he shall reign forever and ever. That's why they're shook. That's why they're shook. You know, and the saints, which are the Israelites, are going to rule along with Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, HaMashiach. That's why they're shook. And fuck. Shit. You know, which is why, hold on. Which is why, fuck. Let me get the saints shall take the kingdom. And then I'm gonna go into really the point. Daniel 7:18, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. They don't get to rule no more. So this is why these devils, which is, I'm speaking of these Edomites, these so-called white people, this is why they're moving the way they're moving. You know, they're about to come down with great wrath, and they're showing you, pushing all these mandates. You know, you can't do this without taking the you know what. You know, you can't eat at restaurants, you can't go into movie theaters, you can't, etc. Can't work at these places either, and work at the hospital. You can't do none of these things without taking, without 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 taking that juice from the devil's punch bowl, which I'm referring to an event that happened where so-called black people was genocided by Union troops in Mississippi. Look it up. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So that's why he's moving so quickly. That's why in Boston, instead of bus drivers taking the kids to school, you got the National Guard doing it. That's why. They're getting the people ready for that martial law. That's why these devils, they actually revealed that their fucking centurions, you know, their enforcers was murdering so-called black people, Latinos, and natives, Israelites, so that they can then get our people fed up. You know, the people that were doing the rioting, really breaking the shit, right? The violent protesting, it was not, majority was not so-called black people or Latinos. Majority, even though the organization is called BLM, majority was so-called white people that was doing that. And it was so-called black people telling them to stop. Showing you, you know, they really, you know, it was an agenda to both, you know, blame them for that. You know, also by destroying these small businesses and the economy would take a hit, and they would call for the defunding of the police, which I know they would call for that. You know, take away funds from the cops. And then our people would think that it's because these elites, these elites and these public government officials care about us, but really they making room for the troops, man. Really they making room for them. And it's gonna start off with the National Guard. And also the mandates. They're mandating the cops to, to take the juice, man. And they ain't having it. So that's creating a shortage, which is basically they're creating the need to bring in the troops. And they're introducing the troops being around you in everyday life. That's why you seen there's videos of fucking tanks being military vehicles being basically like on the highways and shit, man. Just like regular, being moved, just like regular and shit. Me being moved around to different places. It's been that way. You had a drill back in 2015, Operation J Hill. What do you think that was about? This right here, because they're gonna bring in martial law, man. For lo thy enemies. Hold on. Let me get it. This was all prophesied. Thy enemies shall lay a trench about thee. Thy enemies shall lay a trench about thee. Remember how I said Jerusalem is a people before it's a place? Shit. I'm gonna get. Shit. Hold up. All right. Verse 40, and he answered and said unto them, no, because his Pharisees were telling them, hey, keep your disciples in check, man. They doing too much. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if though these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. Verse 41, and then he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. Verse 42, saying, if thou hast known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now are they hid from thine eyes. He's really speaking of the people, and he was speaking of both the events of 70 AD leading up to it, and nowadays, which is going to be like those events, but worse. Verse 43, for the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. That's why you have the movements of troops. That's why you have these more restrictive mandates. That's why you have that. That's why you have them watching our people, man. That's why you have, even though the way the city was set up, man, the cities was zoned out, man. Singled out the hood. And behold, and it also set it up so that the hood could be easily blocked in, by checkpoints and shit. For the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. Verse 44, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. And it's the same thing today, man. They're about to mow you tribes over, man. These devils is about to come down with great wrath, man. Like an overflowing scourge, like a flood. That's how it's described. You know, they're about to go all out because they know that their time is short. You know, so Esau is trying to upset prophecy, but by upsetting prophecy, he's going to fulfill it. By trying to upset prophecy, he's actually going to fulfill it. You know, and it's going to lead to his downfall. But he's going to take a lot of you 2/3. Well, he's going to take out you 2/3, you know, because the elect is the 1/3 of Israel. He's going to take out you 2/3, majority of you so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans in this land, the land of our captivity, as well as around the world, but it's going to be the worst here in America, in the land of our captivity. Now Esau was gonna go in, you know, and you 2/3, you know, y'all not gonna escape punishment. Y'all aren't gonna be kept safe y'all because y'all y'all wasn't given, y'all didn't have the love of the truth, because y'all wasn't given the love of the truth. So y'all continue on with your bullshit, man. Y'all have continued, you 2/3, you know, you continue adding sin upon sin, continue committing adultery with your brother's woman. You know, you women continue, you know, seeing other men when you're with a man. You know, you continue worshiping idols, man. Continue doing that shit. You know, going into these different religions, man. Worshiping idols like this false image, which is the people that go here. You know, this is when they pray to the Lord, they praying to someone named Jesus Christ. It's not his true name, and they pray when they picture him, they picture this image right here, praying to an idol, worshiping idols. People continue to do that, and the people who are Muslim bowing down to that Kaaba, man. People who are people are into all types of ideologies and philosophies. You have our people walking around thinking they're Egyptians, you know, going into worshiping the gods of Egypt. You know, you have a movement among so-called Latinos, particularly so-called Mexicans, where they basically go into the idols that our people was getting into, that tribe of Ishkar, namely, was getting into, and which is the reason why Yahweh, Most High Yahweh, brought those devils over here to punish us. You know, worshiping idols. Witchcraft, too. Witchcraft is very big among our people. Southern Kingdom, you got voodoo. You got the so-called Levites. I mean, the actual Levites, so-called Haitians. They big on voodoo, man. Big on voodoo, which goes into so-called African Hamite deities. They're big on that. You know, so-called Latinos, a lot of them, they're big on that Santeria shit, that Brujeria shit, man. Goes in the idols as well, man. Goes into dealing with demonic spirits. They're big off of that, man. You know, as well as pharmakia, use of drugs. Our people big on that. That's 2/3 because because they receive not the love. So received not the love. Not the love of the truth. That's why 2/3 is gonna perish. 2 Thessalonians 2:10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. That's 2/3. Verse 11, and for this cause power Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe alike. Hey, man, they setting our people up for that strong delusion. You know, that pushing that shit that rhyme with Maxine on our people, man. That's really leading up to the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip. It's really leading up to that, because you're already having a call actually for a way to verify that people, I've taken the Maxine waters, you know, so it's gonna lead to that, hey, because they're already saying, oh, we have fake verification cards, we have fake zombie cards. We have fake zombie cards that people are showing to us. So we gotta switch over. We gotta switch over to something that can be verified. Even fake apps. We people are trying to, because it's mandates coming down. So people don't want to actually take this shit. So they're trying to get around it by doing that. So now you have that push. So along with the mandates is going to come that, oh, we need to have evidence that you took it. We can't just believe your word, or we can't just believe that card that you got. It could be fake. So yeah, we're gonna have to put a chip in you. We're gonna have to put a chip in you. In fact, they're probably what they're gonna start giving out. They even have a chip that they developed that can that works like the jab, works like it. They have one that does that, and they have one that, yeah. Want to know anything else about this sign? You good? You good? Bless up. You good? You good? Well, hopefully, just do your research. Do your research before you can't no more. You'll be good. Just say that. But anyways, and you have a chip that DARPA developed that can detect so-called detect the 19, like say, call it the Crown Rule 1984 edition. The reason why is because the algorithm on the tube will take the videos down if I say it directly. Otherwise I would. But they're trying to, they got a chip that can detect that in your system. So called. So they're already going there. And soon you're gonna have that implemented. You're gonna have that chip being mandated. You're not gonna be able to buy and sell without it. When the mask mandates came out, you're not able to go into stores without that shit, without a mask being on. So you could see how they're gonna be like, ain't gonna be able to buy none without that chip. I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it, bro. In water to a prophet, get a blessing for that. And get that. Get that a precept Shit. Get this one right here. Mark 9:41. For whosoever shall give you a cup of water to drink in my name because he belonged to Hamashiach, verily I say unto you, he shall not lose his reward. And then you have this right here. Also, as well. Matthew 10:41-42. He that receiveth the prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth the righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. Verse 42, and whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. Shout out to you. Hey, how about Shimmy Al Shabrak? Oh, I mean, bless it. Bless Yahweh. In the name of the Son, Yahweh Shai. Bless you. All right, let me continue. Continue. Hopefully, this word reaches some of y'all. So you could see that strong delusion being pushed. You know, that justification. And in that day, it's not going to be. And in that day, it's not going to be just like it's not going to be simply, oh, like we're making them get a chip in his hand in order to buy and sell. It's going to be like a serious crime. Like what? Like you mean you exposing us to this? You mean you like you're going to be looked at as an enemy of the state, an enemy of society, this enemy of everybody. Like what? Oh, what do you mean you don't want to get this chip in your hand, in your right hand? It'd be in your left hand too. Still getting the mark of the beast. What do you mean you don't want to get that shit? What's your problem? Like, what's your problem? What you gotta hide? You're not taking. You didn't take the Maxine Waters or what? What's your problem? What's your problem? You got something to hide? It's gonna be on that shit. That's how people are gonna look at you because they've been programmed. You know they you know they're hey man, men shall revile you. Yeah. Guy, you gotta be willing to endure that to be saved. You know, because the majority is gonna believe a lie. The majority of our people is gonna believe a lie. Verse 13, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness, because they didn't have pleasure in the truth. They didn't, when brothers like me out here bringing it out, what do they, either on the highways and byways or online doing a sit down? What do? They probably click on a video, watch a few minutes of it, probably even not even that, a few seconds. You're like, what this dude talking about, man? He crazy, he tripping. He want them conspiracy theories. Man, the hell we and they close it. Oh, they walk on by and later on they're all like, what's this guy talking about, man? What do you mean? What do you mean the so-called black people, Latinos, and natives are the Israelites. What does this guy mean? What do you mean America's Babylon? What do you mean the so-called white man is Esau, the devil? What do you mean? What do you mean? No, that's the so-called white man gave me this job. That's what they be on. What do you mean? What do you mean he's a devil? This guy tripping. You know? What do you mean I can't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster? Like, what do you mean? We supposed to eat? We eating? We could eat any animal. My pastor tells me that. That's majority of our people. What do you mean we can't smoke nothing? Not just weed, can't smoke nothing. What do you mean that? What do you mean that's off? What do you mean I can't get with my brother's woman? They have pleasure in their righteousness. They didn't want to stop doing that shit. So they're all gonna be damned. You know, they're gonna a lot of them is, come on, if you take the Maxine Waters, and I'm not talking about the senator, if you take that, come on, the same mindset behind taking that is the same mindset that's gonna be behind taking that RFID chip. So if you fold when it comes to that, like, most likely is a very high likelihood that you're gonna fold when it comes to that, even though there are exceptions. But it's the same mindset there. You know, you're going to fold to this. Revelation 13-16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads. RFID chip in the foreheads, that brain chip, a Neuralink. Elon Musk developing it. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You're going to be finished unless you have it. Well, when it comes to participating in the system, you're going to be finished. You know, but that's when faith comes in. That's when faith comes in, because, hey, who can override this man's system? Most High. Yahweh, man. You know, because he's done it before, man. Many examples. Elijah, he was starving. He was on the run. There was a famine in the land. He fed him. He fed that prophet. Daniel in the lion's den, do what any other man would have been through instantly. The lions was hungry, ready to tear in. But not only was he delivered from the mouth of those lions, you also had, let me get it, you also had, you know, the Lord actually took the prophet Habakkuk, and he took him to where Daniel was in the lion's den, and he gave him a meal. He ate in the presence of those lions as well. Yeah, I could get that. Ah, shit. Fuck. Damn. Okay, it's in I think it's just one. Hold on. Trying to get to the point. It's in chapter 1. Shit. All right. Let me hold up. 36. And let me get that verse before it. So hold up. Bell and the Dragon, chapter 1 and 34. But the angel, and that's not one of them apocryphal books that was taken out. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, Go, carry the dinner that thou hast unto Babylon, unto Daniel, which is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. Then the angel of Yahweh took him by the crown, and buried him by the hair of his head. Through the vehemency of his spirit, set him in Babylon over the den. And Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, take the dinner which power Yahweh has sent thee. So there you go, man. Took an actual prophet, and used him to feed another prophet who was in the lion's den. He was locked up. And that's the type that's the levels that the Most High Yahweh will go to for his elect, man. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, another example. They ain't even smell like smoke. And Yahushua was there with him. One like unto the son of God. You know, that's why you're not supposed to fear none of these things. Fear none of these things. Endurance to the end. Hey, Lord may break you out. He may send an angel to break you out. He did it to Peter. He did it for Peter. Hey. Revelation 2 and 10. Basically, Yahweh, Most High Yahweh got your back. Revelation 2 and 10. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. There you go. Be thou faithful unto death, man. Because even if you die in this thing, okay, even if you die, even if you're at the FEMA camp and you know they pull the fucking trigger and that guillotine land on your ass and they chop your head off, it's done. Hey, you're gonna be straight, you know, because he's gonna give you a crown of life. You're actually gonna be the first of the elect that gets beamed up in what the world calls the UFOs. Those are really the chariots of the Lord, man. Ezekiel's will and all that. The dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. 1 Thessalonians, it's 4 and 16. 1 Thessalonians were, let me get that. So I know where it's at now. Been out here for a good minute, so I'll wrap it up soon. But I'm gonna start off verse 13, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, right? But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others who have no hope. Verse 14, for if we believe that Yahweh died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahweh will power Yahweh bring with him. Verse 15, for thus we say unto you by the word of Yahweh, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of Yahweh shall not prevent them which are asleep. Let me get it. Shit. Verse 16, for Yahweh himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of power Yahweh. What's up? And the dead and Hamashiach shall rise first. Shall rise first. In fact, you die for this thing, you finna be up there first. You're gonna be in them chariots first. Because you actually gave your life. Verse 17, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet Yahweh in the air, and so shall we ever be with Yahweh in the clouds. Is speaking of the chariots. You know, he maketh the clouds his chariots. The so-called UFOs, man. You know, the pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night. You know, meaning the same thing. UFOs are like pillars of fire, look like lights. They look like clouds during the day. You have clouds that look like a so-called UFO. And a lot of the times it's them masquerading themselves, man. They ain't always gonna show themselves like that. But you could kind of tell. But shit. Yeah, let me just I'm about to wrap it up soon. You make it the clouds his chariot. Psalms 104:3, who laid the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Verse 4, who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers of flaming fire. Yo. And then shit. Pain. Pillar of cloud, pillar of I'll just get this. Pillar of fire, cloud by day and fire by night. Exodus 3:13 and 21. Get the KJV. And Yahweh went before them by day in the pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in the pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. That's a so-called UFO. But with that, oh, and then another thing, you know, you know, the chariots, man. It's a possibility that they're also going to be used to lead the elect to safety, because not all of us is going to be put to death. But those that are, it's actually not bad news. That's the that's the end of your hell, and you're gonna be first in them chariots. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Oh wait, hold up. I want to address something else. You know, you got another sign that these times are coming soon is that you have a the 10 horns, which are NATO, the NATO countries, the NATO slash EU countries, and the whore, that's America. The whore is America. It's Babylon. And the 10 horns, they're starting to hate the whore. They're starting to get sick of America, real sick of America. You got France. You got France pissed the fuck off at Babylon, America, because they got fucked over. They got stabbed in the back by Babylon. You know, the AUKUS deal that America have with the Australia and the UK, man. France is pissed, man. And that's the start of it. And they hey man, they was in the process of building that submarine too, man. They pissed. They pissed. They took back diplomats from the US and from these other countries, Australia and the UK. They're pissed, man. For AUKUS deal. That's a sign. That's a sign right there. Because all them countries, even the UK, shit, even Australia, all these kingdoms is gonna turn on the horror, on Babylon. And this is the beginning of it. It's gonna be something that Babylon does that's gonna piss everybody off. Shit, you could already see how that would happen. Shit. Yeah, we almost there, man. And one of the hold up. Shit. France seeks European support after August submarine deal surprise. Hey, eventually they are gonna turn against Babylon, man. Cause yo, man, Babylon been fucking over its so-called allies many times. They done that shit many times. They're finally sick of it. They seen America's not all there. They seen Babylon's not all there, and they're tired of it. France seeks. There's a little article. France from a diplomat. So shit like that. France seeks European support after August submarine deal surprise. "Quote unquote, it's not just a Franco-Australian affair, but a rupture of trust in alliances," France's foreign minister declared. France canceled meetings with British and Australian officials and is trying to rally, meant to say, EU allies behind this push for more European sovereignty after being humiliated by major Pacific defense pact orchestrated by the US. Australia and Britain insisted Monday that the diplomatic crisis won't affect their long-term relations with France, which is seething over a surprise strategic submarine deal involving the US, Australia, and Britain that sank a rival French submarine contract. France recalled its ambassadors to the US and Australia for the first time because of the deal. And its anger is showing few signs of subsiding, actually getting more pissed off. French Foreign Minister John Yves, I think, Yves, some shit like that, Le Drian in New York to represent France At the UN General Assembly is expected to give a news conference Monday to address the situation. He's also meeting with foreign ministers from the other 26 EU nations in New York, where he will discuss the consequences of the submarine and France's vision for a more strategically independent Europe. "Quote unquote," it's not just a Franco, okay, what he said, basically, like, hey, y'all should be with me on this. They fucked us over. It caused her, yeah. They fucked us over, Hey, watch out. Like a brother put it. It's like you saying, watch out for this nigga over here, man. Grimy. Ladrian said he canceled a meeting with the Australian counterpart in New York for obvious reasons. They have been scheduled to meet with the Indian foreign minister, but instead it will be a France-India meeting alone. Ladrian said he had no meeting scheduled with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken while he's at the UN, but might pass him in the hallways. Bro, France is not fucking with Babylon like that no more. They are pissed, they are done. While U.S. President Joe Biden is hosting the Australian and British leaders this week, he won't see French President Emmanuel Macron, who's not traveling to the UN. Macron is staying in France and is expected to talk with Biden in the coming days about the submarine crisis, according to the French government. The submarine deal, known as AUKUS, will see Australia cancel a contract to buy diesel-electric French submarines and instead acquire nuclear-powered vessels from the U.S. The U.S., Australia, and Britain says the deal bolsters their commitment to the Indo-Pacific region and has been widely seen as a move to counter and aggressively assertive China. Hey, pissing off France, pissing off China more. The French government agrees to have been blindsided by the agreement and feels its own. Hey, while I'd say appearing to taking L in Afghanistan and all these other places, man. The U.S. cutting back troops in Saudi Arabia now. So you have that as well. Yeah. It feels its own strategic interests in the Pacific, thanks to its territories and military presence there, were ignored by major allies. France's defense minister canceled a meeting with their British counterpart this week. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, meanwhile, insisted that British relations with France is ineradicable. Basically, they're saying, hey, bro, chill, get over it. But eventually, Britain is going to get on board, man. All these tin horns is going to hate the whore. Pretty much all the kingdoms of the earth is going to shoot whatever the fuck they have, whatever kind of missiles they have, they're going to shoot them at the whole America. Because there's going to be some shit that they're going to do. That's going to be like, everybody's going to be like, nah, we got to do something about this. Shit, man. Speaking on his way to New York, he said, AUKUS is not in any way meant to be zero-sum. It's not meant to be exclusionary. It's not saying that. It's not something that anybody needs to worry about, and particularly not our French friends. Trying to speak smoothly to them to get them back in the fold. British officials have stressed a prophecy is going to come to pass. British officials have stressed the close military ties between the UK and France, including joint operations in Mali and Estonia. More of that. In Australia, officials said France's anger won't derail negotiations on an Australian-European Union free trade deal. French ambassador to Australia, Jean-Pierre Thibault, denied media reports that France was lobbying the EU not to sign a trade deal with Australia that has been under negotiation since 2018. Basically, Australian Trade Minister Dan Tehan said he would travel to Paris within weeks for trade negotiations. Basically, but it's just gonna get worse, man. I see it may cool down for a little bit, but just gonna simmer back up, man. It always happens. I see no reason why the discussions won't continue, etc., etc. But yeah, man. The European Commission, the EU's executive branch, said Monday they're analyzing the impact of the Australian sub agreement. Yeah, eventually, man, Eventually, they're all going to turn on this whore, though. And that's according to prophecy, and I'm going to get it. And I just got to wrap up. Got to wrap up. Because the point is pretty much proven. Revelation, talking about them 10 horns. Revelation chapter 17, verses 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, he shall hate the whore, make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Speaking of the nukes they're going to shoot. It's all symbolic language. Verse 17, for power Yahweh had put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of power Yahweh shall be fulfilled. Power, I say power because the word for God in the Hebrew, where it says God, the word there, it'll be Allahayim. Allah is single for that. A-H-L-A, how you spell it in English. And Allahayim is plural. That just means powers. Singular means power. It's a title. Some people try to call him Most High, Yahweh. They try to call him Elohim, but it's not. First of all, it's not Elohim, it's Allahayim, and second of all, it's title is multiple. It means powers. So they got it wrong too. So, you got these 10 horns turning on the whore, because it's a process. It's not going to all happen at once. It's a process. It's a mindset. This World War III has been simmering for a while, man. Don't just happen just like that. It's a process. But, you see more of these things happen, meaning we're closer to it. Much closer. Because what France could do, they could sell that shit, and they could, start fucking with Iran more, man. The EU already fucks with Iran a lot. They could start fucking with them more. They could sell that to Iran. Iran always be buying our technology. Like a brother had brought out, I think his channel named Fish Return Hunter, Amos 911, something like that. Fish Return Hunter, something like that. But he brought that out, and it's true. But, more signs of the end coming. The end is pretty much here. We'll wrap it up on that. Hey, when you see these things begin to happen, know that, our deliverance is nigh. Deliverance of the elect. You're free 2/3, man. Y'all, in that time of Jacob's trouble, that y'all not going to survive, is here. All right, so I hope this live was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, to the elders, a great millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire. Shalom to the rest of the elect. The men who can't prophesy because, they disabled on this side, but really it ain't their lot. And the women and children who believe, who look like people in the 12 tribe chart, so-called blacks, which are so-called black people, Latinos and natives, or who look like the other nations, but they go back to so-called black people, Latinos and natives on the father's side, somewhere down the line, and their spirit bears witness of it. The spirit bears witness of it. They go through the curses, they have the zeal. Most importantly, they can get this truth. Because this truth ain't given to heathens. This truth ain't given to Edomites, which are the wicked of the Bible. Definitely not. So he's only dealing with the Israelites and the elect on this side. All right, so I hope this live was edifying. Shalom, stay strong. And hey, it's not Wakanda forever. It's Yasharallah forever. That's the real kingdom of real people, real nation. Shalom, stay strong. Yasharallah forever.